Today's video, guys, I'm going to go through the Combiner Rumble picture that I done over on Instagram. I'm going to take you through each of the characters that I did, ranging from G1 right through the IDW combiners that they have done through the years. I try to do every single combiner that I could think of, that I know from my continuities that I've watched and read within the comic books and stuff. I'm sure there's probably 2 or 3 different iterations that I have probably missed. But as far as I'm concerned, I've drawn all the combiners that I actually know myself and that I know a bit about on each character. So stick around and let's get through the Combiner Rumble. So what better place to start than G1, where it all began itself. So within the first 4 seasons, I believe, we had 8 combiners. Obviously the Autobots were a little outnumbered, 5-3. So let's get started. Number 1 for the Autobots, Superior. Number 2 for the Autobots, Defensor. And number 3 for the Autobots, Computron. Now over to the Decepticons. So we'll start off with Devastator. So next up for the Decepticons we have Bruticus. Number 3 for the Decepticons is Menasor. Number 4 for the Decepticons we have my personal favourite, Predaking. And finally, for G1 within the first 4 seasons, number 5, Abominus. And at this point then, Takara decided to go off and do their own sort of follow-on to G1, whereas sort of the American and UK sort of side of it things, they were sort of still doing comics, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. But they moved on then to do their own 3 seasons, one being the Headmasters. As far as I'm concerned, there only was one new combiner within Headmasters, and that is Raiden. Next up, they done Master Force. The only new real combiner that I can think of in that there, I may be wrong again, was Piranacon. And finally, for the Takara series, Victory, which is my own personal favourite from the 3 Takara series. I think Victory is absolutely fantastic. They actually introduced a few more combiners in their setup. So number 1 for the Autobots is Landcross. And number 2, Road Caesar. The Decepticons had Dino King. And the second one for the Decepticons, Lio Kaiser. So now on to the Beast era. I know from my own personal experience that Beast Wars itself didn't really have any combiners, but there was Beast Wars 2nd and Beast Wars Neo. I still haven't finished Beast Wars 2nd, and I haven't got on obviously to Beast Wars Neo, but there's 4 combiners within that, and I know that from friends that I know that all watched the Beast Wars fully through, both 2nd and Neo, so there is combiners within the Beast Wars realm. So first up we have Magnaboss. Then we have Tripredacus. Number 3 in the Beast era, Magmatron. And finally, yes, he has a recolor, and I'm not doing too many recolors, but just because he sort of fitted into this perfectly, we have God Neptune. So the next series that I could come up with was Transformers RID 2001, also known as Car Robots, I think in Japan. So there was 3 combiners that came into that. I know, yes, I put up 4 there. 3 combiners, 2 of which were Autobots, and 1 was a recolor of G1. So the 2 Autobots are Landfall, and the second one is Rail Racer. And the Decepticons recolor of Bruticus, which they called Ruination. And next along the lines for the TV series was we got introduced to Armada, a whole new take on Transformers. They had minicons and stuff, and I actually struggled initially to find a combiner, because when I call a combiner it has to be different sort of things. I don't really count whenever Optimus combines with other things. Yes, it is sort of a combiner, but it was more like an upgrade for Optimus as such. Never really turned away from being Optimus. I like it whenever the combiner actually has a mind sort of its own. So I reached out to all my followers on Instagram, and they were able to give me a combiner for Armada, and that was Perceptor. And after Armada, we had Energon, which actually had 3 combiners, and they were sort of a little bit of a retooling sort of thing, or reimagination of original G1 characters. So they weren't, I don't think they were affiliated with Autobots and Decepticons, but we have Superior Maximus, Bruticus Maximus, and finally Constructicon Maximus. Now, as far as I can think of, there wasn't really any combiners in Cybertron. Menasor was in it, but he was an actual bot, a giant bot on the giant planet, but he wasn't actually a combiner. So if anyone can think of ones, they can let me know down in the comments down below, but I'm pretty sure Cybertron didn't have any combiners. So the next 2 series that came along with Transformers was Animated and Prime, and there was no combiners in those either, as far as I'm aware. I don't count Jetfire and the other Aerobot, or one that I can't remember right now. They did combined and it was sort of split and stuff, but I didn't really pick him. Maybe I should have, who knows. But anyway, moving on from that, next up was a live action movie by Michael Bay. Some people don't like Bayverse, some people do. But here is Devastator. Then Transformers came back with RID again, but this time 2015, and nothing to do with 2001. Anyway, it was a follow-on to Prime, and they actually tapped into the whole combiner thing. We did get Menasor. And they just make it a little weird, in my opinion, the Bumblebee Combiner. Now, I know Transformers did do Cyberverse. I haven't completely watched Cyberverse 2. I tried to watch it a wee bit and stuff, and I hear it is good, at, you know, for the storyline or whatever. I just couldn't get too much into it, so I did check the wikis and stuff, and unless I overlooked something, no combiners there. As far as I'm aware, unless there's new ones when you watch this video that may come out after this video, but as far as I'm concerned, there was no combiners in Cyberverse. So the last place I looked now for combiners, after going through all the TV series that I could find, I turned to IDW, and they did have some very interesting and combiners that I actually quite liked in the IDW universe. I'm a big fan of the IDW universe. Sadly, they're not going to have the contract anymore, so we'll see what comes next for the Transformer comics. So just starting off, and there's no particular order, but it was one of the first combiners in the IDW universe that was foretold or talked about. I know there was, if you go by the 13 Primes, there was a combiner in that, but I didn't really do him because I just didn't do it. So the first one that was forced into combining was Monstructor. And then we get into the IDW Combiner Wars section, where a lot of bots used the Enigma of combination. So there was a few that sort of weren't combiners to begin with that are now combiners. One I left out was Prowl joining Devastator, because that was just weird, and it's pretty much Devastator with a Prowl head, so that doesn't really count in my books. So we have Victorion. And of course the Decepticons couldn't be outdone by having a female, or the Autobots having a female combiner, so they have Megatronia. Then we have Optimus Maximus. Kind of like the way the Bumblebee was, but just with Optimus this time. Then we have Skyrain. Then there's one that came into the actual animation that they done for the Titans Return, Combiner Wars and stuff like that. Not a really good series, don't really recommend it. but we have Volcanicus. And last but not least, for the Combiner Rumble, we have Grand Galvatronus. And here it is, the final print itself. I've done this pretty much for myself, just because I put so much work and effort into it. I like to have it up, and I'm hopefully one day going to get it framed and have it up on my wall. So if you like this sort of video, go down there, hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button. Try and put out at least one of these sort of videos a month, followed by at least 2 to 3 videos a week of shorts of just my artwork and stuff. So if any of those sort of interest you, definitely hit that subscribe button. And until next time guys, stay awesome. Alpha out.